Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 40 Days with Dietrich. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love it if you would drop me a line and send me an email and just let me know kind of maybe some of the reflections that you've been having along the way. Today's passage is taken from Testament to Freedom, which again, if you remember, Testament to Freedom is a compilation of his writings. So I'm not exactly sure where this is coming from, or what letter or what lecture or what is coming from. But if you have that book, Testament to Freedom, you would definitely find this passage. The title given to this passage is Peace in Suffering. Peace in Suffering. Bonhoeffer writes, "The test of whether we truly found the peace of God will be in how we face the sufferings which befall us. There are many Christians who bend their knees before the cross of Jesus Christ well enough, but who do nothing but resist and struggle against every affliction in their own lives. They believe that they love Christ's cross, but they hate the cross in their own lives. In reality, therefore, they hate the cross of Jesus Christ as well. In reality, they are despisers of the cross, who, for their part, seek to flee the cross by whatever means they can. Whoever regards suffering and trouble in their own life as something wholly hostile, wholly evil, can know by this that they have not yet found peace with God at all. Actually, they have only sought peace with the world, thinking perhaps that they could cope with themselves and all their questions with the cross of Jesus Christ. In other words, that they could find inner peace of mind. Thus, they needed the cross, but they did not love it. They sought peace only for their own sake. When sufferings come, however, this peace quickly disappears. It was no peace with God because they hated the sufferings God sends. Whoever loves the cross of Jesus Christ, whoever has found peace in him, they begin to love even the sufferings in their life. And in the end, they will be able to say with the scriptures, we also rejoice in our suffering." Okay, so one of the things that make people uncomfortable about Bonhoeffer, and I think rightly so in some regards, is Bonhoeffer's relationship to suffering. It can come across as Bonhoeffer glorifies in suffering. And you can see where that's coming from here. In this passage where he talks about you need to love the sufferings that you have, because the sufferings that you have, that is the cross of Jesus. That is what God's will is for your life. And you can take that to the extreme and say that whatever hardship, whatever brutality you are facing with, well, just smile at it because that's what Jesus wants of you. I don't think that's what Bonhoeffer's saying, but he can be read that way. And so there's always, I think, a caution when we read Bonhoeffer's words, particularly of suffering. And one of the things that, of course, that we need to remember is that Bonhoeffer, again, is writing in Nazi Germany. And I've said this time and time again, but we always need to have that in our mind. And one of the things that Bonhoeffer is constantly reflecting on is the call of the Christian to work to the end of the suffering of the Jews, right? The call to resist the Nazi regime, to resist Adolf Hitler. And for Bonhoeffer, because that meant that you were in opposition to the state, there was this understanding that you were kind of called to suffer along with the people. And so Bonhoeffer talks about that the presence of Jesus is found in the other, and it's found in and the other who is suffering, because Jesus dwells with the suffering. And it's not kind of a rubber stamp on a suffering, it's not a glorification of that, but for Bonhoeffer there's a very deep reality that the call of the Christian is to journey with the suffering. And that's kind of, I think, what he's getting at here, particularly at the beginning when he says, there's many Christians who say that they love the cross of Jesus, but kind of won't follow that in their own life, who kind of resist any sort of uncomfortableness. And so Bonhoeffer will say, you're not actually loving the cross of Jesus. You're loving comfort with the state. You're loving peace with this world, but not peace with God. And so I think there is a point of challenge that we need to recognize and kind of pull out of this passage, not a glorification of suffering. And I think we need to keep that historical context in mind to understand kind of what Bonhoeffer is trying to address. But I think the challenge is to recognize, how are we willing to follow the call of Jesus, to bear the cross of Jesus in those places that make us uncomfortable? Because sometimes the cross might make us uncomfortable. And sometimes Jesus might call us to be in a place which is uncomfortable. That can be a true reality for our lives. And that uncomfortableness doesn't have to be with dwelling within the suffering. That uncomfortableness can actually be speaking out against suffering and working against the forces of evil or tragedy or hurt in this world. At the end, when Bonhoeffer kind of ends and says, if we do all this, we get to say with the scriptures, we rejoice in our sufferings. Well, and again, we're not actually rejoicing in sufferings. And so in this little passage that where we end here, unfortunately, it makes it seem like Bonhoeffer is saying something that I don't think he is. We're not rejoicing in our sufferings. What we are rejoicing in is our following of Jesus Christ and our meeting Jesus Christ and our holding of Jesus Christ and his cross, even in those places that it might make us uncomfortable. Again, this is one of the things that pushes against us and makes some people wary of Bonhoeffer. And so I'd love to know what you think particularly about this reading. Send me an email. If you want to hear it again, please do so. Let me know how you heard this call for peace in suffering, and how does that work out in our lives today. God bless you as you go through your journey of Lent, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.